This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
You know, this may be one of the slowest weeks in the midst of a season that we've ever had while recording a podcast with Detroit Sports Podcast in the history of the Fan Report. The Pistons are really just kind of continuing to do what they've been doing all season. If not even taking it to an extreme after what I saw with the Bucks game. But this is the Fan Report. Regardless of what the news or lack thereof is, we're going to bring you an episode. We are brought to you by fans, by fans. Jesus, I can't even remember our own tagline. By fans.
Oh, my Lord. For fans.
We're brought to you by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and my co-host is Andrew. Episode number 189. This one was a little bit more of a challenge. A little bit more conversation had to be had about what we were going to talk about. But you know what? I kind of like episodes like this because we tend to have a little bit more fun, and we tend to kind of branch off into a deeper conversation about the Pistons, about the Lions, and about just sports in this town as a whole. But we are going to be talking a little bit about the Pistons. We have a little bit more of an idea of what a Bojan Bogdanovic trade market could look like.
Unconfirmed, but
obviously
we're gonna
unconfirmed, but it kind of, that's what we do. We like to speculate. So there's not a ton of news on the Lions front. We can discuss the Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay situation and whether or not he's going to be in the NFC North.
Do you know their 2024 Super Bowl odds are higher than the Lions currently?
It doesn't surprise me. We finished ahead of them
No, their odds are better.
They have better odds? Well, okay. As of right now, they have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, as of right now.
There's your difference.
Okay. So you're saying as soon
they
as
have Aaron Rodgers and Jair Alexander. I'll give him, and Aaron Jones. Well, Aaron Jones is a free agent, isn't he?
I'm actually not sure.
Pretty sure he is. But
doesn't matter to Aaron Rodgers. He wants Randall Cobb back. And David Bakhtiari. That's who he wants back.
I understand Bakhtiari. I don't understand Cobb. Because what the hell did Cobb do for him this year?
Well, they're all buddy.
I get that. But if he's not doing anything for you, what is the point?
Rodgers doesn't care about winning.
I thought that was the point.
Did you not hear what he said?
He said he could win another MVP. I get that. And wrong words to say, fine. I think people are looking way too deep into it. I'll be honest with you. I agree.
But I also really don't think Aaron Rodgers cares about himself. I really don't think he does.
The fact that he missed training camp or OTs with his wide receivers last year to go smoke peyote on a mountain kind of tells you that.
Yeah. I didn't need that quote to tell me that, is all I'm saying.
His whole shtick of what his plans are going to be this offseason are if he can get guys to come back so that he can fight for a Super Bowl. Why Cobb then? Wouldn't you want to upgrade there? We're not going to turn this into a Packers conversation, but
we're not a Packers
people
podcast,
that look into
God.
I feel I can win an MVP. I think you're looking at it too far. That just makes me feel like he's just saying that I feel I can play at an MVP level, which if he's playing at an MVP level, the Packers are winning football games. If he's not playing at an MVP level, the Packers are not winning as many football games. That's how I looked at it. Anyways, I'm equally as annoyed with him as I am with Brady for that matter, but that's beside the point. I'm not going to have that conversation. And I'm equally as annoyed with the Pistons.
I'm arguably more annoyed with the Pistons.
You know what?
Because I actually care about this team.
I'm more annoyed with the Pistons.
I don't give a shit about Rodgers or Brady.
Because...
And it's not because Killian Hayes lost me money in Paris.
Okay, he really dropped the ball for so many people out there. Everybody was betting on him to put on a show, and then he just straight up
didn't play against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did anybody play against Milwaukee? Because that was one of the worst. You gave him 150 points.
Duran at least had a nice game, and Bogie had 30.
Sure. But defensively, nobody had a good game.
No one played defense, No, so, Killian sat with a shoulder injury according to the according to the...
Repeat that. I missed that. What'd you say?
Killian did not play due to a shoulder injury, apparently.
Right.
Let me ask you, he didn't look hurt when he played in Paris.
No.
They're
gonna. You know what it
mental
was?
health,
Is
get right, day off type of thing? Or?
You know what it was? It was a way to save face to Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama was scouting out his potential Frenchman that he could play with next year, and then he saw him put up damn near a dud, and then the Pistons are like, "Oh no, he only did that because he had a bad shoulder. That's why." Don't look too much into it, Victor. Come on, it's okay.
Oh man.
No, like after watching the Bucks game, is there any reason Dwayne Casey should be coaching this team the rest of the year?
I mean, there hasn't been a reason he should be coaching the team before the Bucks game, but yeah, he should have been fired at halftime.
That just, to me, was such a nail in the coffin that this team does not care to listen to this guy. Mm-hmm. And if they are listening to him, why?
I don't care how depleted your roster is or how young your roster is. I am okay with losing games with this. I know this roster is not good enough to win. I know that.
But losing to a team
you are getting run out of
150 points to?
You give a 50-point first quarter. You are getting run out of the gym on a nightly basis. You're not even an NBA team at this point.
I understand the league is all about scoring now, but 150, that's taking it to an extreme.
Yeah.
I get that Adam Silver in the NBA wants higher scoring games, but Detroit Pistons, you guys didn't have to give up all the points in one game. We can spread them out. Yeah. I can't. How many times have we had a team score 140 points or more on us this year?
Quite a bit. I can find that out for a fact if you want.
Yeah, please do. Because
good old Stat Muse.
You know, it was funny because I was listening to a game on the radio because I was driving. I don't recall what game it was. It was probably a week ago. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about, and it was Mark Champion, and he was talking about, I can't remember the exact conversation, but Dwayne Casey came up, and he talked about how he kind of had to pause for a second because he was about to say something along the lines of, Dwayne Casey's just a great mind of a head coach and just a great head coach. And, he's really putting this team in the right direction. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? How can you look at anything this team has done this year and say that the head coach is putting this team in the right direction? You know what I compare this to?
That's someone that's just going on blind faith. There's no actual evidence you can give me.
I honestly
sitting there watching the games telling me that we're headed in the right direction.
I think he's damaging
this coach has heading in the right direction.
I think he's damaging this team and damaging these young players.
Yeah.
Because they're certainly not getting any better. We have seen zero progression from anyone on this roster. Zero.
Yeah.
From the minute he got here till now. Nobody has gotten, without a doubt, better. We've seen certain players change their games, but have they really gotten better? And the answer is no.
By the way, your answer on the 140-point thing, we've allowed it, other than against Milwaukee, about 3 other times this season to the Knicks, Clippers, and Sixers.
That's a lot.
And that's not, we've had some teams come close too. We've had 137 points, 138 points. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, as it pertained to the questions we had of who is a part of the future of this franchise, definitively speaking, we had those questions at the beginning of last year. We had those questions at the beginning of this year. How many of them are going to be? How many of those question marks are going to be answered this year? None. Not a single one.
No, because
nobody progressed.
And I'm at the point where I don't even think Dwayne Casey's putting these guys in positions to succeed.
No.
For all I know, a new coach could bring out a totally different type of player in someone like Sadiq Bey or a totally different type of player in Jaden Ivey. I don't know how to evaluate anymore because I feel like I'm looking at a team that's not even trying on a daily basis.
I'll give credit where credit's due. Sadiq Bey for the last 5 or so games has looked like a totally different player. He's looked much improved. He's looked a little more focused offensively. He's looked more so like what we saw from him, really more so in his first year, where you kind of saw him go back to his jump shooting, his spot up shooting ways a little bit more. But
he's not trying to do too much on defense, on offense.
He still had some moments where he was able to create his own shot, no doubt about it. More of what we saw last year, but he went back to what he was doing right before and not trying to do too much, like you said. And so credit to Saddiq Bey for figuring that out, but let's hope it continues. He finally has his field goal percentage up over 40%. I believe his 3-point percentage is up over 30% now. So he's trending in the right direction.
Just a quick peek, last 5 games, even though only one of them has been a win, but last 5 games, he's averaging 22 points a game, 7 boards on 45% shooting from the field, 45% shooting from 3.
That is that quite literally is night and day compared to what he's been all year long. Yeah. And this could just be a little hot streak. It very well could be. But let's hope this just continues. And he shows that he's starting to surge back to what he was before. And this year was just more of an outlier than the norm for him. But even then, I still don't have questions answered. And Dwayne Casey's done nothing but make those questions more glaring. I understand the mindset of putting in a coach that just isn't going to win basketball games for you, but at what cost? Because there's teams out there that'll just put in a coach or keep a coach around knowing full well he's going to lose games. Because you want to go after the prize piece in Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, insert name here. But at what cost is that going to come? And with Dwayne Casey, it's seemingly coming at the cost of he is hindering the growth of your young talent.
And they're going to start develop. This is what I'm worried about. This is what I was worried about with the Lions when on that 1-6 start too. If you don't make a change soon, these players, because you have such a young team, they're going to start embedding these losing habits, and you got to curb that before it becomes a habit. And it's just, I don't understand what has to happen. How much worse can it get in terms what has to happen for Dwayne Casey to get fired?
I don't know how much worse it has to get. I thought we hit rock bottom 3 weeks ago.
That's what I'm saying.
And we're
can it get
somehow
can it get worse?
Even lower.
Can it get worse at this point?
I will. You bring up a good comparison with the Lions, especially during the 1-6 start and going into last year, and something we had harped on with the Lions and something we had discussed was one of the things Dan Campbell wanted to do when he got here and throughout the recent offseason into this season was he wanted to instill a culture into this team and this organization. And we said, how are you capable of instilling a culture when you continuously lose games? What kind of culture would you be able to instill when you are 8-20, 25 through 2 years? You're not instilling any kind of culture there. You're not getting anybody to come play here when you have that, because who the hell is going to play for a guy like that? Well, now we can draw that comparison to Dwayne Casey and the Pistons. You're not instilling any culture when you go 21-60 after 61 in 2 years. You're not going to have any culture there. You're not creating a winning mentality in your young talent's minds. You're not going to teach these guys how to grind out wins by doing that. And you certainly aren't going to have any big-time free agents. We talk about this $40 million in cap space that we have that's this great asset. Guess what? If you're going to win 20 games of back-to-back seasons, and you keep this guy, who the hell's going to want to come play for you? Who wants to play for a coach who just won 20 games in back-to-back years? Nobody. Yeah. Especially not a proven vet in this league. They don't want to play for that. Why the hell would they? I wouldn't want to play for that. Would you?
Absolutely not.
So why do we continue to just keep this guy here and punt it down the road and let this damage things further? Who is going to come to an organization that has won 20 games in back-to-back seasons, has, for all intents and purposes, no questions answered about who's part of the future outside of your number 1 overall pick and maybe another number 1 overall pick, maybe if you're lucky, which I still don't believe it's going to happen. Likely a number 3 overall pick, because I don't think
no chance it's going to happen.
Right, I don't even think the Pistons will get the second pick. That's how much faith I have in the NBA. But who is going to want to come here for that? with a new, even if you do fire Dwayne Casey and you bring in a new head coach, probably an unproven head coach, because who the hell's going to want to come here and coach this? What are you getting with your 40 some odd $1 million in cap space at that point? Nothing. So we're continuing to push this thing further down the road and looking at yet another losing season and hoping for yet another high draft pick. Fun fact, you can only have so many high draft picks on your roster before there's no room left. There's no room at the end for any more of these guys. Sorry. At some point, you got to win. Otherwise, you failed, sir. Goodbye.
What I was stewing about today, what I was trying to think about is, where do you go from here? Just the rest of the season. Like, what do you do? Because obviously the season became a basically lost or wasted season once Cade was deemed out for the year.
Right. And I get that, and that's fine. I'm okay with them losing games this year. I'm good with it. I expect them now.
So, but since then, you've established that you are okay with just not putting an effort night in, night out, and getting run out of the gym on an almost nightly basis. Where do you go from here, from now until April?
You fire the head coach, you put a different guy in place, and you hope that he puts a totally different mentality into the mindset of these young players. You know, you hope he instills a focus on defense for once. You hope he instills a focus on playing together and not looking like a disjointed middle school team half the time, because that's how they look.
I mean, I think
looking at the talent level,
I think middle school team is putting it nicely.
But looking, ouch, looking at the talent level on this team, nobody expects them to be 500. We didn't even expect them to be 500 with Cade.
Yeah.
But
and when Cade went down, we talked about, we're probably going to have to lower our expectation of 30 games.
Right.
Like, we don't even expect 30 games.
But they can't be this bad, can they? If we are still this bad, we have some serious issues that go beyond just the head coach.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I can't believe we're actually this bad. Like, I cannot believe that this roster that you put on this collection of players you put on the floor is legitimately the worst Pistons team I've witnessed in my lifetime. Like, I can't believe that.
You might be right.
I've seen worse Pistons.
You honestly might be right. This may be the worst.
I've seen worse Pistons rosters on the floor, and I've seen them do more.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is this the worst 3-year stretch of Pistons basketball we've ever seen in our lifetime? Because I think it is.
If you want to talk about record, sure. But I can't deny that
records matter.
The last 3 years ago 2 years ago and last year they were at least fun to watch. Like, it was at least a fun basketball.
Last year was fun to watch. I don't know about 2 years ago.
Yeah, the second half of 2 years ago, once we got rid of Blake Griffin and we were playing the young guys every night. Yeah, that was fun.
But that was primarily predicated on the fact that you had hope with this team.
Yeah.
Because you had these young guys, and Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes.
But these guys were competing.
We wanted to have faith in.
Yeah.
Well, they were trying to earn their keep in this league. They were getting their feet wet. But is there a part of you that thinks some of these young players, because they never really had to compete for anything, that some of these young players don't really have that drive? That's
what I'm worried about. Like, there has not yet been any pressure, obviously, on these players to win basketball games, right?
Like, Sadiq Bey never really had to earn his minutes. He was just given them. And he was still given them despite
you're talking about actual playing time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
there's spots on the roster.
I thought you were talking about drive to get a win.
Well, that too. But the players, a lot of the guys in this team never really had to fight for their minutes. They were just given them based on their draft status and the fact that we have nobody else. I feel like that's kind of a negative thing.
Yeah, I think the only guy
when you bring in
there's only one guy that you can say legitimately got his minutes cut and then had to fight his way into actual minutes.
It's Killian.
That's the one guy.
And he's the one guy I honestly can look at and say, I think this kid has some motor, has some drive there.
Yeah. And Duren was always going to be given minutes, but he did play. I think he played his way into more minutes than he probably would have otherwise been getting his rookie year.
I'd like to see, I don't want to start looking at Duren as this big time star because of the way we looked at Andre Drummond.
Oh yeah,
Andre
I don't want
Drummond
to do
put
that
up
either.
a ton of empty stats, and I
don't
don't
want
want
that
Duren
either,
to fall
but
into that either.
All I'm saying is he's been better this year than I expect him to be this year.
He far
That's
better,
what I'm
no
saying.
question about it. He's what is he? 18, 19?
Yeah,
He's
19.
Far better
Freshly
than
19.
I'll own it. I wanted this kid to go to the G League. Like I thought he was too young, too raw, and too inexperienced to be playing in the NBA. Well, he's honestly at this point proven me wrong.
Yeah, and I'll own it by saying I was right there with you. I may have jumped this ship prematurely once I saw preseason. Like, no, he's not going to G League, but I was right there with you.
And don't get me wrong, there were still moments during the regular season where I thought that this kid probably could benefit from some time down in the G League because he wasn't getting playing time at enough of the right spots. But due to necessity because of injury, now he's starting to see those minutes in the right spots, and he, for the most part, is kind of flourishing. So it was a gamble that seemingly has paid off. However, I don't really even think we can say that because a lot of it's empty.
Right now, yeah.
A lot of it's not coming against a team that is truly competing with you right now because you're not at that level as a team.
You mean he was the only guy that cared to get a rebound on this team yesterday?
Well, the whole team sucks defensively anyway, so it's frustrating to watch a team like this because I don't think they're this bad.
That's what boggles my mind about this team is like it's not just deep. Like they've regressed significantly defensively.
That's an understatement.
They've regressed.
This is the worst defensive team I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they've regressed significantly on the boards. They've regressed significantly in their screen game. Like they're failing at every aspect of basketball. If it weren't for
sixth grade
Bogey,
basketball team,
we'd be losing by 30 a night instead of 20.
They look like a sixth grade basketball team. Like they should be running the wheel offense. Like do we need to make it that simple? Or just say straight up pick and roll, which they can't even do that right half the time. It's honestly, when I'm talking to my friends who are fans of other teams, like it's at points embarrassing to talk about my team, because I firmly believe that this team is not this bad.
I agree, because we know we've seen them not be this bad.
But this may be one of the worst Pistons teams I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's been the worst 3 years of Pistons basketball in my lifetime. Like, I am tired of losing. And I don't know how many times I've said that on this show, but I am straight up, I'm tired of losing. I'm done with it. That's why I don't care about the draft picks anymore. You want to talk about this one? Fine. That's great. I don't care about next year's draft pick. I don't care about the year afters. I don't care about the year after that. Because where are you going to put them? And not to mention, you got to re-sign some guys eventually. At some point, you got to re-sign some of these 17 first overall picks or number one picks. Like, at some point, where's the roster spot? Where's the money coming from? Because you can't keep them all. Yeah. And if you're continuously missing on these guys to where you don't want to re-sign them, then why are you still here? I don't know how much longer we can, as an organization, be okay with losing.
So this brings me to my next point. Obviously, this team needs adults in the room as actual players in the roster, not just coaches. Bogey is your best player right now.
Yes.
And it's not even
has been all year.
Bogey is also one of maybe 2 or 3 players that, at least what we as fans know, have garnered interest on the trade market. Now, reports have been that Troy Weaver has been demanding, at least as a starting point, unprotected first-round pick for Bogey.
Mm-hmm. The only one I believe has actually been offered was the Lakers' 2027 pick, which actually may be a pretty good pick, but it's like a billion years from now.
We do have reports from the Lakers athletic beat writer about what Rob Pelinka supposedly has put on the table for Bogey. But before I say that, you have a 34-year-old player on your roster that is garnished significant trade interest.
And a team that looks like a kindergarten sandbox.
Yep. Can you afford not to do something at this point?
Yeah.
It's not getting you anywhere.
Right. But in all reality, let's say we don't do anything. We have him for 2 more years. What's it hurt?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say the team looks marginally better next year when you bring back Cade, or when you add a hopefully Scoot Henderson, or, you know, God willing, a Victor Wembanyama, or, you know, maybe you get the 3rd guy in the draft. The team very possibly could look much better next year under a new head coach, different situation, and you have your top talent there.
Yeah.
But adding Bojan, or continuing to have Bojan added to that, probably is a damn good thing and a very important thing, because he fills a key role of a spot-up shooter that can hit outside shots with regularity. Then you have another year of that with Bogey. So you would have a 2-year window with him where... And you honestly could probably add him for another year beyond that if you really wanted to, because he's a spot-up shooter. Those guys don't really have to worry about the age factor coming into play as much.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a situation where you must trade at all costs here. I don't believe that. Plus, he's one of the only experienced vets you have in your locker room. So there's that added aspect of why he's important to keep. But
like from Troy Weaver's perspective, can you afford to just sit around in this trade deadline, knowing how bad this team looks? That's what I'm asking.
Depends on how much trust you have in yourself at this point. Depends on how much trust you have in your...
And he seems like he does. He seems like he's not...
Depends on how much trust you have in your ability to bring in another name here. Because if you have trust in yourself, you would absolutely be gambling on yourself. Because by not trading Bojan Bogdanovic at the trade deadline, you are sitting here and telling me that this team is going to be ready to win next year. So that is my expectation at that point. Because that's a move, you know, we talk about the win now moves for teams going to get guys like Bojan Bogdanovic. Well, by Troy Weaver keeping Bogdanovic, that's a win now move. Especially considering you could get a 1st-round pick for him. That is a win now move.
So supposedly, according to Joe Von Buha of The Athletic, the Lakers' preference on Bogey is to only give up a lottery-protected 1st.
No, thank you. Go away.
Now, don't know if this lottery-protected 1st would be earlier than 2027.
Probably
I don't
not.
know if they can afford, if they even have.
I don't think they have a 1st-round pick. I don't think they have a 1st-round pick before 2027. So I'll pass. That's honestly, if I was Troy Weaver, I would say thanks, but no thanks. Call somebody else. That's straight up insulting.
This gets to my question. So in that same article, Joe Von Buha did say that that's probably going to change by the deadline, as in Troy Weaver's obviously not going to budge off of, at a minimum, an unprotected 1st-round pick.
An unprotected 2027 Lakers pick is not good enough for me.
I know. So Lakers have clearly been the biggest suitors for Bogey. They've been the most aggressive pursuers of Bogey.
The Lakers have also been aggressively trying to pursue just about every name that's somewhat available.
But what I'm asking is there anything that you would accept from the Lakers for Bogey? Because I don't know about you, I'm more willing to look at actual players.
It would probably be actual players. That's who I would be willing to bring
unless a team swept in and gave me a pick in this draft, that's different. But.
I will say this, and this is the one scenario where I would say, you know, maybe we do look at 1st-round picks. If you started to hear rumblings of a really, really highly prized superstar or star player not happy in a situation, a la a Donovan Mitchell in Utah last year.
Isn't Zach LaVine unhappy in Chicago?
I don't want Zach LaVine. Dude,
Me neither, but I'm just saying, isn't he unhappy in Chicago?
Yes, but I don't want Zach LaVine.
I want someone who's going to play defense. That's what I want.
I want a 2-way player. But if there are rumblings of something along those lines, I would probably be willing to then trade Bojan Bogdanovic. Like if a team came up and said, hey, here's 2 unprotected 1st-round picks, and it was like, I don't know, Cleveland. So they're really late in the draft. Although Cleveland's probably a bad example this year. Dallas. Let's go with them. Here's 2 future first-round picks that are unprotected. I know that's probably way too much. We're not going to get that. Even if it was just 1.
Well, if the Spurs get that for Pirtle, we better get that for Bogey.
Yes, if the Spurs asking price of Jakob Pirtle of 2 first-round picks is any semblance of what the market is, Bojan Bogdanovic should get 2 first, yes. But at that point, I would say we utilize that to go aggressive at a player that's a star like that. You know, a Donovan Mitchell trade where we're trading 3-4 first round picks, one of them not being ours because we just got it from somebody, to go get that guy. Yeah, then I'd be okay with it.
We have also seen Troy Weaver parlay a 2027 first into a 2020 or a current first, I should say. I don't know if you might be a little more hard pressed to do that in this draft than last year's draft.
But if I were to just look at the Lakers roster here, to kind of look at what I could want for Bojan Bogdanovic, I don't see much on their roster, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't want Russell Westbrook?
No. God, no. I don't want him anywhere near this team.
They're probably going to try to dump him off on you, too. That's
One team I could look at as a team, I would like to kind of look at their roster and see what we can get off of them is maybe like the Boston Celtics going after a guy like Grant Williams, maybe. You'd probably have to add in some pieces. You definitely would have to add in some pieces to give up to bring him in from them for Bojan Bogdanovic. And honestly, I'd be okay with it. I'd like to see Grant Williams in a Pistons uniform. I think that would be an interesting.
I agree.
You know, something along those lines, a player of that caliber where he's young, but he's a good developing player that plays two ways. So that's where I would say a Bojan Bogdanovic for a player type trade would make me happy. And the only other time a Bojan Bogdanovic trade for a pick would make me happy, unprotected first, bare minimum. And there has to be something, because I don't intend on using draft picks much longer. So if I'm stockpiling draft picks, I'm stockpiling them to go get a big time player in a trade.
I'd been saying
that's where my $40 million in cap space can come from.
I'd long been saying that this year is the last year that I value my draft pick. But I've also been saying that this is also a year where I'm not. So the first year where I'm not saying I want to tank for the first overall pick.
Right. Now at this point we have to.
Yeah, even though I think the first overall pick can really alter the course of your franchise.
At this point, I am all about tanking for a first overall pick because there's no chance in hell this team is winning anything anymore.
But
so I'm forced to.
I just wish we could tank the way we did a couple years ago, where we're tanking, but we're also fighting every night. Like we're not.
That's fine. I
wish we could do that.
Because it would at least instill a little bit of a culture with your players, but you're just missing the aspect of grinding out games.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening with this head coach. I don't. And frankly, as much as I do like Bowie, like if I had to rank what I wanted to do with Bogdanovic, I'd like to keep him first, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't want to trade Bogey.
Secondly, I'd trade him for like a guy like a Grant Williams. You know, a piece that we can immediately insert onto this team. Third, it would be an unprotected first that I could then turn around, package with some other picks, and go get a superstar. And if that likelihood of going to get a superstar with other picks is more likely, I would probably bump that up to number one. Because outside of us getting the number one overall pick, I'm fine with trading Scoot Henderson and a couple other number one picks to go get a big name, a star. I don't have a problem with that. Our backcourt's already clogged.
I wish Jaden Ivey could get himself into the Rookie of the Year rumors so that he could up his trade value in case we got Scoot Henderson.
I wish Donovan Mitchell would have held on for one more year.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine him actually coming to Detroit?
Him and Cade would be a nice backcourt pairing.
Ooh, that would be filthy. That would be filthy. What do you think? Like, let's say the Pistons get the number 2 overall pick this year, and Donovan Mitchell doesn't go to the Cavs. He's still on to Utah this year. He still has the issues that they have.
You say would I trade the rights to draft Scoot Henderson for?
Well,
Donovan
hang on.
Mitchell?
What do you think a trade like that would look like? And this is purely like jumping in the what if machine, obviously. But I would think like your number 2 overall pick, Jaden Ivey, probably another number 1 pick would probably get it done. You think?
I mean, let's look at what the Cavs had to trade to get Donovan Mitchell to begin with.
Yeah,
they had to
that's
trade
a good point.
Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and
Lauri Markkanen looks pretty damn good. He's a stud. Colin Sexton's
I think they traded their draft pick last year, right? Along with 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so we'd have to add more to that. Take your pick between Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey to add to that.
I'm trading Sadiq between the two.
I would too, but if they are asking for Isaiah Stewart, that's not going to be.
Oh, you're telling them take your pick?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were asking me to.
Right. I'm telling them if they want Sadiq, if they want Isaiah Stewart over Sadiq Bey, I'm not going to say no. I'd have a chance to get one of the premier talents in the league. I'm not going to have Isaiah Stewart be the deal breaker.
I mean, at that point, after all that stuff you're trading, you just roll the dice with Scoot Henderson. I mean,
no.
The guy is a first overall pick in any year that.
No, because you know what Donovan Mitchell brings you? Leadership.
True.
Something you desperately need in your locker room. And you get to pair him alongside Cade Cunningham. Yeah, I'm going to take that. Not to mention you'll still have Jalen Duren down low. Yeah, I'm going to take that. Yeah, I think I'd be okay. And then you still have probably close to 20 million cap space to add pieces to that. Yeah, I'm good with that. Worked for the Cavs. Well, kind of. They're actually struggling right now. I think that team just hasn't figured out how to play together yet. Give them a bit.
No, I am as much as I don't like the Cavs as an organization. I am a believer in the roster that they have put together.
They certainly have done a hell of a lot better job than we have at building this thing. A hell of a lot better job than we have. Because looking at their core, I like what they've got a hell of a lot more than I like ours.
Yeah.
Jared Allen, stud. Evan Mobley, stud. Darius Garland, star. Donovan Mitchell, superstar.
He started a few years earlier, but a couple of years maybe.
You know what the one mistake I think is on this roster? Karis LeVert.
I mean, they traded for him, right?
No, that was the free agent signing, if I remember right. They signed him, I thought. What's his contract?
I don't know, Karis.
Because wasn't he the free agent? We wanted to bring him into the Pistons a few years ago, and then
we were talking about we were talking about bringing Karis LeVert on the team, but
right.
Kind of glad he didn't because he didn't do anything after he left Indiana.
He signed a 3-year, $52.5 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets, and all of it guaranteed. So he was traded here. Traded to Cleveland. And he is a UFA after this year, so it's not going to hurt him that bad. So maybe it won't be that bad. But paying $18.8 million to a guy who's averaging 12 points a game for you is not great. That's $1 million more. That's $1 million a point per game, more than.
But yeah, this is a tough time to be a Pistons fan because really all you can do as a fan is just hold out and
pray for ping pong balls to fall in our favor.
Just hope to God that things look better next year.
Yeah, I mean, if the ping pong balls fall in our favor, it will. You hope, anyways. It's not fun. Because and the thing is like there's just not much to talk about with this team outside of fire Casey. Why has all of our young talent regressed?
Again, if this team clearly doesn't care when they step on the basketball court, how can they expect fans to care?
Right, and the empty arena is evidence of that because they ain't selling tickets and the arena is quiet. It is not loud. Like it. I don't know if LCA is even capable of getting loud. Because at least for the Pistons, I haven't heard it. I've heard it get pretty loud for the Wings, but even I don't know. Frustrating.
But yeah, I wish there was a more positive spin we can put on this. I really do.
What are some positives we can look at with this basketball team, though?
Positive spin on this season, but I don't like what can you say that Killian Hayes has made improvements? That's our positive spin,
but really inconsistent. But yes, he's made improvements. He looks like
I do wish because like Killian when he's having a good game is like confident. I love watching him play.
He's so confident.
Like when Killian Hayes is having a bad game. I mean, he at least still impacts the game with his playmaking defense, but like in terms of his shooting, it doesn't look like an NBA player when he's having a bad game.
Right. The thing that I actually kind of like about what I've seen Killian Hayes do this year is when his shooting is off, and we saw this in Paris, he still impacts the game on the offensive side of the ball because he's still a really solid playmaker with the basketball. He had 9 assists in that game still. And the game that we went to against the Knicks, he had 9 assists in that game.
Mm-hmm.
He can impact the game and make plays for his teammates even when he's having an off day.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, I mean, from what we've seen from Saddiq Bey for much of this year, when he has an off day, he just lays an egg. And again, credit to Saddiq Bey. The last 5 games, he's looked great. Like he's been far and away better. And we mentioned the shooting splits, 45 from the field, 45 from 3. Like that's night and day compared to what he was doing for a majority of this year. Now I hope that he can continue to do this and build on it and understand that, hey, I need to play more like this than the guy that I was playing like before. And Jalen Duren's looked nice. Isaiah Stewart's developed a new weapon. Like there are some positives to take from this year, but the negatives just seem to be so glaring. And a lot of it has to do with the defensive side of the ball, which is something that I honestly think is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because if these players get into the mindset that they don't have to play defense, this team will never win games. Ever.
Oh my God.
Even when Cade gets back.
It scares me.
Same.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's scary. Like I understand that we're not winning, but it scares me the impact of what's happening this season. It scares me what impact it's going to have on these players in the future.
At this point in the season, like I don't even care what the win-loss record looks like. Just don't set any records, please. I don't want to be that level of embarrassing. But
right.
I don't really care as much about the win-loss record. I just want to see this team compete.
Yeah.
Play defense. Play hard. Play like you want to be there. Play together.
Yeah.
Which is what we saw for a majority of last year.
So I want to pull something up right here. So last year, almost half our wins came in that 1 month stretch after the All-Star break. If you include the one game before the All-Star break, I guess. But do you have any confidence that we can see a post All-Star break turnaround like we saw last year?
No. And I'll give you one big reason why.
This kid had a fantastic March, and we don't have Cade.
Cade had a fantastic March. We don't have Cade. You had the presence of Jeremy Grant, who was probably the adult in the room for that locker room.
Yeah.
Was also a guy who would consistently at least put up points. I'm not saying that he was a star by any means, but he played well for the most part. You don't have either of those two things, and those are probably two of the biggest reasons why you were successful during March last year.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think there's any way that this team goes on a run in March. Like, I just, as much as I'd like to see this team play really well during a month, I don't see it in the cards.
Yeah. I'm looking at this team's like just their January compared to our January, like the 2021 team. And
there's a lot of comparisons between the two.
But I'm just saying most of their losses were within 10 points. Like, at least within 10 points.
Yeah. This team, compared to, like, that team actually competed.
Yeah,
they tried. They played defense for the most part. Like, we came into this year thinking that we could afford bringing on a guy like Jaden Ivey because you had solid defenders around him that could hide him. Well, now nobody's playing defense.
Nope.
So you can't even hide the black hole defensively that Jaden Ivey is because nobody's playing at that level. And I remember, like, one of the things when we were talking about drafting Jaden Ivey, when we were saying, one of his biggest detractors is he's not a good defender. Well, I remember saying that that's okay because we have good defenders. We have Saddiq Bey. We have a tenacious Isaiah Stewart. We have a good defending Cade Cunningham. We have a really good defender in Killian Hayes. We have guys around him that can play defense. None of them are. And it honestly, I feel bad for Jaden Ivey because it makes him look that much worse. In the Knicks game, perfect example. Maybe it wasn't the Knicks game. I can't even remember what game it was. But I watched Jaden Ivey try to D up a guy. The dude went. It was the Knicks game because it was Jalen Brunson just quite literally walked around Jaden Ivey. And there wasn't a single player that came to help. Not a single one even took a footstep. They were sleeping defensively. And it looked like Jaden Ivey had never played defense in his life. And I felt bad for the kid because the team didn't have his back.
Yeah.
They don't play together defensively.
Oh, no. And you're seeing a lot more in general, like just poor body language from the team too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like you're seeing them getting like
they're gutted,
visibly frustrated with each other and stuff.
They're tired of losing like this. They don't want to play anymore. Like,
you've seen
how many of these young kids at this point want to pick up their basketball and go home?
Me.
I mean, me too.
You've seen all the Twitter discourse lately about the Rockets and how poorly they've been defensively.
I encourage those fans, if they want to have a brighter day for once, take a look at a Pistons game.
Yeah,
it'll make you feel a lot better about how your Rockets.
Oh, because I was about to say, like the Pistons, the Rockets are allowing 117.4 points per game as of this recording. Pistons are allowing 120.3.
Yeah,
so or worse than that. There is actually a team that has allowed more points per game than the Pistons, though.
There is? Even after the 150-point game?
Even after the 150-point game, because their last game they allowed 147.
All right. Who the hell was that? San Antonio?
The openly tanking San Antonio
okay,
Spurs.
a team that quite literally gutted the entire thing. Went down to the Lifetime Fitness, said, who wants to play basketball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only team that's allowed to be worse than you. And they are.
Well, at least they do something right.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to be tanking this year. They were.
You're literally beating the one openly tanking team. That's it. That is all you're better than this year.
Yeah. How many games are we, like, worse than the next best team? Just out of curiosity. I haven't looked at that. Like, that's the thing is, I used to get excited looking at the standings. I can't even get excited looking at the standings anymore.
Yeah. You're one game behind the Rockets, I believe.
1.5 behind the Hornets as well. The Hornets are no good. That's a team that honestly is a huge disappointment.
We're ahead of the Hornets. In the tank, we're ahead.
I'm talking like actual standings where you're behind.
Oh, the only team that's worse than you is the Rockets in actual standings.
Okay. The Spurs are better than we are?
The Spurs are better than you.
Oh my God. Woof.
They've won more games and they've played less games. Let's put it that way. They've won 2 more games and they've played 2 less games.
Well, that's just 2 more for them to lose.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with this team.
Well, the Spurs have very Popovich. That'd be why they have a better record than you.
Right. Yeah, he can coach you to a couple wins.
But I do like...
You know they're 0-8 in their division, the Pistons. They haven't beaten a single team in their division.
Our division is pretty good, though.
It is. You're not wrong.
Milwaukee, Chicago, Cleveland.
Like the next worst team. All of these teams are technically playing or better besides the Pistons in your division. So there is that. God, 6-18 at home. Woof. Oh man, these standings are ugly to look at.
All right, well, I'm going to give you the most shocking stat of the year for the Pistons.
Yes, I would love to hear the most shocking stat of the year.
Where do you think, this is according to Basketball Reference, out of all 30 teams, where do you think the Pistons rank in attendance?
Bottom 10.
We're 12th.
If that's the case, the NBA's got a serious issue.
Yeah, right.
Whoa, man, I've seen some empty arenas. Now, that's got to be just ticket sales, right, people? Like, that's got to be just based on ticket sales. Because
the NBA counts attendance based on ticket sales.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I bet you there's a lot of people that grab season tickets because they're waiting, they're holding on to them for when they run out, so they don't lose their spot when the team is good.
You think they can get like grandfathered in at their price? If so, I'm doing that.
But
the
way the season tickets work is it's a lottery. So if they're out, it's tough to get back in.
Yeah. But don't you wish it would kind of work like stock futures, for example? Like
yes,
like you could lock in your rate right now, lock in the price and
right. Yeah,
lock in a buy rate.
I feel like people are grabbing season tickets to lock it themselves in while the team's bad because it is cheaper right now, and they're willing to bite the bullet for a little bit. They'll sell as many of their tickets as they can, try to make some of the money back, so that when the team is good, they don't have to worry about a lottery. They're already locked in.
Yeah.
So they're willing to punt for a few years to make their money back later. Mm-hmm. But
these aren't call options. You can't just I don't understand. Oh man!
But I mean, I can see a lot of people doing that. Because there ain't no way in hell after the way how many people I've seen at the arena in any of the games I've been to or seen on TV that team is 12th in the NBA in attendance. And quite frankly, if they are actually 12th by the amount of people that show up to the games, then the NBA has a serious attendance issue. And I don't think they do, because the NBA is increasingly becoming one of the most popular sports.
Well, let's see. NBA league-wide attendance trends.
But again, that's based on ticket sales. So it's kind of tough to actually gauge that of how many people are actually showing up to the games. Like last year, for example, in baseball, around baseball, there was the big story about how few people are coming to games. Like I think it was the Royals or somebody, or like the Rays, that had quite literally 600 people at their game in a stadium that fits 40,000. 600 went to a game.
So, real quick though, not counting the pandemic impacted years of 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021, because those were abnormally low attendance. The NBA is actually, as of last, we don't have stats for this year yet, but last year was their lowest in terms of attendance, lowest year since 2011, 2012, and that was a lockout year.
Really? I wonder if
so. The lockout year is actually almost as low as the year that was half impacted by the pandemic. So. Again, if you take out that,
imagine it's like that's due to the cost of how much it is to go to a game now. Like you can't just pick up your two kids and go to a game. The family out, because you take the family out to a game, costs $500.
Yep. Oh, here we go. They actually have footnotes. So 2011, 2012 is low because it was short due to lockout, and then 2020, 2021 was shortened, and 2019, 2020 due to COVID. So. In terms of non-lockout or COVID impacted years, this is the lowest that's in this chart. It's 2021, 2022.
Wow. That surprises me because of the level of popularity that the NBA has had over the last...
This is from Statista, by the way. I should probably specify that.
The level of popularity that the NBA has had over the last decade really is just at a level that we've never seen. We talk about how the 80s with Magic and Bird was the golden era of basketball and saved the NBA. I was under the belief that we were entering in a new, or have already entered into a new golden age of basketball with the presence of Steph Curry, LeBron James. Maybe we're exiting that. Maybe we're starting to go into another dark age of the NBA. I don't know. We'll see if Victor Wembanyama's level of play changes that, but who knows? I don't. I'm just shocked to hear that the Pistons are 12th in attendance.
You know how it is. How I know it's bad though. Just the Pistons. I've already started doing my draft deep dive. By deep dive, I mean looking at players not named Wemby and Scoot.
Well, you kind of have to, don't you?
Well, but this is kind of early.
Just out of curiosity, considering the Pistons will probably be able to fall as far as 6, is my guess by the end of the year. Is that how far they could fall?
As of right now, you can fall 3 spots from where you are currently, or 4. It might be 4. So let's call it 6.
So we'd be looking at, obviously outside of Wembanyama and Scoot, you're looking at Brandon Miller, the kid from Bama, Anthony Black, kid from Arkansas, Grady Dick. That's a great name. You know what? I want him. Yeah. I want to cheer for a dude named Grady Dick. And Amen Thompson from Overtime Elite. What the hell is Overtime? That's G League?
Yep.
Okay. That's pretty much what you're looking at. Chris Murray, Nick Smith, Ryan Rupert. There's some other names in there. A lot of names from Alabama and Arkansas in the top 10.
Yep.
When the hell did they become basketball powerhouses?
I can... The guys as not named Wemby and Scoot, obviously I feel like almost everyone is in agreement that Brandon Miller is your next best thing. We could definitely use that shooting on this team. I believe he's shooting 46% from 3.
He's also a 6'9" wing, which is something the Pistons desperately need.
I really like Jarris Walker out of Houston.
He's quite a bit further down this list.
Yeah, I'm not specifically looking at top 5. I'm just giving you players that Jarris Walker.
I see him on this list.
Wow, what list are you looking at?
NBA Draft Net. Where the hell is he? Anyways, continue.
I like him for his shooting, defensive versatility. There's a lot of things to like with that guy. And then one guy that's a little further down.
Grady Dick.
No, Kentucky point guard Cason Wallace.
Okay, all right. That's another point guard?
Well,
how many point guards do we need?
I'm targeting defense, my man.
That's fair. But we need a guy that's gonna be a star. I don't need it.
I'm looking for guys that I'm looking for guys that play hard, can play defense, willing defenders, active defenders, good defenders, and can score the basketball.
There's a Pepperdine high-level prospect, top 15, Maxwell
Really?
Lewis.
Really?
That's a name that belongs at Pepperdine. Maxwell.
Yeah. Maxwell Lewis.
Oh, man. You know, it is sad, but it almost is time to start looking for a potential draft pick. That's not one of your top two, obviously.
So, the Ringer released their draft guide that they do every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how they normally do, like, they'll give you the player and then they'll say like, shades of this player or this player. For Cam Whitmore of Villanova, they didn't give you a player comparison. They just said shades of a semi-truck with a Ferrari's accelerator.
Interesting.
Make of that what you will.
So for Grady Dick, they give
And
Reggie Bullock.
One of his skill sets is got that dog in him.
Nice.
They also had that for Scoot, by the way. Got that dog in him. His shades is shades of efficient Russell Westbrook, if you were curious.
I mean, that's pretty good. An efficient Russell Westbrook.
And then Victor, they said Gen Z Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
You said Victor Wembanyama's Gen Z Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah.
That's funny. I would say like Gen Z Wilt Chamberlain, just pure dominance.
Yeah. On a dominance aspect, then yeah. Sure.
All right. Anyways, anything else to add before we close out?
Yeah, I really don't want to get into draft talk.
No, I don't either.
It's depressing to get into draft talk. Yes. NBA draft talk before we get into NFL draft talk.
Right.
That is depressing.
Yes. Anyways, that is going to close it out for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. If you guys have some more optimistic and positive things to say about the Pistons, please let us know on Twitter at RealFanReports, where you can find us. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them on Twitter. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekends. Peace out.
Peace.